Thank you, Mr. Ingle. Mr. Chase?
Quick one, you went the other way. Yeah, I believe that this kind of tax is the kind of tax, if properly implemented, that the citizens want. Okay, I'm a parent, and my kids go to the public schools here. There are 3 of them right there. They're behaving so far, but time's still left. They went to Talbot Elementary. They go to Westwood School now, middle school. I coach. I'm involved with a lot of kids. And to be honest with you, that's what's very important to me. At the end of the day, all of us are going to have to buckle down, strap down, and do something. But the children, they're innocent in this thing. Okay, they want a bright future and opportunity. You know, I went to a forum last week, and I used a quote from Magic Johnson that said a child needs a little help, a little hope, and someone to believe in them. And I believe that. Again, the men in my life that were role models are my coaches and my priests. My mom was working full-time, and she did one heck of a job raising us. But our schools have got to continue to get the funding that they need to promote what we need to develop our children. Listen, I hire people at the college level. I hire engineers. And when you hear about this lack of engineering and math and science in our kids, it is true. It is out there. Quite frankly, some of them expect to get paid more money than they should. Their work ethics are different. And so when I think about education, there's, to me, nothing more important than educating a child. My generation tends to save on college. My wife and I have actually focused on our kids' education now, okay, like my mom did with me. I was fortunate enough to get a Navy scholarship to school because I worked so hard as a child, and I want to help other children do that. So, you know, yes, this is something I look at, particularly when it's given to the voters to decide.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Mr. Poe.
As many of you know, I am a teacher, and my parents were both retired teachers, and my dad's mother was a teacher, and so I have teaching in my blood, and obviously I'm going to support as much funding as possible for public education. And so I did and will again support any effort to get the $1 million increase. Now, I do have a bit of a problem with this from a philosophical point of view, because public education, according to the U.S. Constitution, because it's a reserved power to the states, is really a state's responsibility. And over time in Florida, our state government has been shifting that burden to local communities. And that is especially onerous for communities like Alachua County that are very revenue constrained. Over half of our property is off the tax rolls. Therefore, we don't have the ability to raise the money like, say, a Miami-Dade County or a Broward County. So philosophically, it's unfortunate that we have to do this, but our community stood up and said, we support public education, we support arts and music in our schools, and we voted this in. And so I think that we need to listen to them. And I just want to end by giving you an example. Duval Elementary had an arts magnet program. When the funding was taken away, that school, when that magnet program was cut back, that school went from being an A school to an F school. Now, you tell me whether those kids are going to be successful in the future without that benefit of that arts magnet program. And I think that's the lesson that we take away from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poe. And finally, Mr. Krames.
Thank you. And I have a hunch that this might be a county thing, but regardless, I'll answer it as if it was something that I had the ability to make a decision on. I would let it expire. I think that we need to let taxes go down, but that doesn't mean that I would reduce funding to schools or any core service. To me, it's smoke and mirrors when you create a new tax and say it's for schools. We need to have it. Commissioners are responsible for making sure schools are properly funded. They're responsible for making sure the budget is properly allocated, properly prioritized, and right now is not the time to increase taxes. Right now is the time to try and lower taxes, to do what we need to do to reduce non-essential services, focus on essential services. And again, I just want to echo, just because I'm not supporting extending the millage rate doesn't mean I'm supporting taking away the funding from the schools. Not at all. We need to focus on core services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krames. The next question is also a question from the audience, and we will begin with Mr. Krames. Where do you stand on the merger of the sheriff and the Gainesville Police Department?
Right. I oppose the merger of the two law enforcement departments. It goes against my general philosophy of government, the best government is the one that's closest to the people. And, we could probably save some money by merging all local governments to all be under the governor, and he could be our king, and he could make all the decisions for us if we wanted to. But that would take away a lot of quality of service from us, and it would take away a lot of ability for us to hold our leaders accountable. So I do not support merging the sheriff and the police together. That being said, I understand that we were able to merge our communications departments and save a little bit of money, and from what I understand, it's adequate. And I would support looking for other areas like that where there are some duplication of services, but I do not support abolishing the Gainesville Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krames. And your response, Mr. Poe.
Yes, I was voracious in my opposition to this when it got proposed before the City Commission and argued vehemently against it. First of all, I agree with Mr. Krames wholeheartedly that the government closest to the people functions the best. And to think that we could give up our local control and somehow have better service at a lower cost, I think is foolhardy. It's been shown definitively that costs would not go down if this were done. It also is giving up the control that we have over our local police force. Our local police force does a phenomenal job of working with our neighborhood organizations. They do a phenomenal job of supporting our community, in their community-oriented policing efforts. Programs like the Black on Black Crime Task Force brings members from all over the community together to solve our community's problems as one. We would be giving all of those things up if we gave up control over our local law enforcement. So, and ultimately the missions of a city police department and a sheriff's department are much different. A sheriff's department is more rural in nature, while a city's police department is urban, and it needs to stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poe. Mr. Chase?
Well, again, being a citizen and not a participant in government yet, my impression was that it was that we're going to study it, and so I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it, other than I'd certainly lean to say that it probably would not make sense. But I'm open to look at things like that. As far as the police and the sheriff's department, I went through the process and I've interviewed. And I know these men and women. I'm actually endorsed by both the Fraternal Order of Police and the Police Benevolent Association. And it felt like last week that it was there was some a couple weeks ago there was some politics involved in that. But clearly, I'll be looking out for what's best for Gainesville, what's best for the citizens of Gainesville, and I think when it comes to police and fire protection, the men and women that serve there know that for the first time, again, hey, I didn't choose to go into the military so I could run for office someday. But the true reality is that I did. I've served 23 years. I'm a commander in the United States Navy. I've got significant experience. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to kind of sit around and not do much sometime and then have the people be darn happy you're there, when they need you. So I think they need to be appreciated. I think we need to continue to try to fund them. We can't give people everything they want all the time. But again, I think that they're just a little different. I heard during the budget process this year, I heard at one point one of the commissioners, it was not Commissioner Poe, say that, well, all of us should be lucky to have our jobs. And you know what? I just feel a little different about police, fire, and in my case, the military. I'm not looking for a pat on the back, but they need our support and appreciation.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Mr. Ingle.
It seems like a pretty popular opinion up here, but I am also against merging the two forces. And this has come up several times kind of in the past. We've looked at consolidating the fire services with the county and the city. As I believe the police departments, we've had this debate before. And I think, first of all, like a bigger organization does not necessarily mean a more efficient organization. And I think that it is a good idea to keep home rule. And I've kind of, from the officers I've talked to, most of them don't think it's a good idea to consolidate either. So, I mean, it seems like most of the people involved with this don't think it's a good idea. And really, even if there is some duplication, I'm okay with that. I don't want the cheapest police force we can get. Like if there's a little bit of overlap, that's all right with me. I don't want the cheapest police force. I don't want the cheapest fire department we can find. So a little bit of duplication of services, when services are that important, I think is a good thing and not something we necessarily need to be chopping out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ingle. We are now going to be moving on to closing statements, and each candidate will have 1 minute. We will hear the candidates' closing statements in reverse order from the opening statements. So we will begin with Mr. Poe.
Well, thank you again for the League of Women Voters for having us. My name's Lauren Poe. Thank you for coming here to share this afternoon with us. I'm from Gainesville. I've been here since 1982. Went to Westwood Middle School, Gainesville High School, and then the University of Florida for a pair of degrees. I'm a proud Gator. I'm also married to my lovely wife, Emily Monda, and we're soon expecting our first child, and there's nothing more exciting than that. If you are kind enough to re-elect me for a second term for the District 2 City Commission seat, I will continue to help grow our economy and create jobs. I will continue to build our community, protect our quality of life, and I will continue to protect our neighborhoods and our families. It has been my absolute honor to serve the city of Gainesville and the residents of District 2 over the last 3 years, and I very much hope that I've earned your vote this coming March 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poe. Mr. Krames.
And again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. And I don't have to say a whole lot, but I'll just reiterate that I want to bring lower taxes and lower GRU rates to Gainesville. I want to do that by reducing non-essential spending. You can go on my website where I've, with the help of a lot of really smart people, outlined a lot of areas from the budget that we believe to be non-essential. electrobertkrames.com. Click on the link that says End Wasteful Spending. And give me feedback on that if you think that those are appropriate areas to cut back or not. And I want to see a more diverse private sector jobs in Gainesville, and I think we can do that by getting the government out of the way, reducing taxes and fees, reducing red tape so businesses can flourish. And finally, I want to see core services returned as a priority in Gainesville: police, roads, maintaining current infrastructure, and fire protection. That's core services, and that's what I want to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krames. Mr. Ingle, your response, your closing statement.
First of all, thanks again. So the League of Women Voters runs, in my opinion, probably one of the best forums I've been involved with. The questions have been good. There's enough time to answer, and I've really enjoyed myself here today. If you take anything away from what I've said today, the most important problem we have in the city of Gainesville is the lack of good jobs. I want to focus not just on job creation, but the type of jobs that we can really move forward with and create a solid, sustainable community with. I think one of the easiest things we could do with that is right now the city spends millions of dollars every year on all sorts of different projects. If we make sure that the money we're spending is being spent on local businesses that are hiring local people, that are putting money into local training programs, we can make sure that that money is not just being spent, that money is being invested back into our community and making sure that we've got the type of jobs and the type of businesses that continue to grow and continue to offer us real employment opportunities moving forward and are invested as part of this community. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you, Mr. Ingle. Mr. Chase.
Again, thanks for having me as well. I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. I mean, to me, it's very simple. If you're happy with where we are and where we're going, then three of us at least aren't for you. If you're looking for someone new and a new voice, I think I've made a case. I mean, I've came here to create jobs and companies, and I've done that, and I've been part of that. I've had some successes, and I've had some failures, okay, every step of my life. That's part of growing and learning. James talks about blue collar. I have more appreciation for the blue collar worker in my time as a junior officer than anyone could ever imagine. To fly in an airplane with 18 and 19-year-old guys who sit in the back, who have your life in their hands as well, and how little they get paid and how hard they work is an appreciation that's taken me through my life. Robert talks about a lot of things about ending spending and prioritization. I agree with some of those things. Okay, I'm asking you to look at the people, look at the experiences, look at the ability you think people have to get on this commission, have a strong voice, and lead us in a new direction. And if Todd Chase is the person you decide to, I appreciate it. First of all, I encourage you to vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chase, and thank you to all the candidates for coming today and for the audience for participating in this, this forum. I wanted to say that we will have a 10-minute break before the next race, and you're welcome to stay and maybe talk to the candidates. And the District 3 race will be coming up at 2:30. Thank you.